Hello everyone, from the title you can see that tonight I'm gonna talk about this anime called Washio Sumi wa Yuusha de Aru. This anime is a prequel to Yuki Yuna wa Yuusha de Aru. Basically, from now on I'm gonna refer to these two anime as Yuki Yuna and Washio Sumi. And and recently Washio Sumi has 3 episodes of short movies. Each 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 episode's about 40 to 50 minutes long. Basically, one movie is about 2 episodes. So basically, to say that there's about 6 episodes worth of Washio Sumi, and it already ended. I watched it. I watched the last episode about 2 weeks ago, and I just felt like talking about it tonight. First to say, I really like Yuki Yuna because I think since Madoka, I mean like Madoka Magica. I mean, Madoka Magica is a is arguably the anime that popularized this genre, which I dub girl of moe girl despair genre. Basically, a genre where the writers try to use a cutesy art style or focusing on young girls, and then the story revolves around how they will face many despair and tragic moments. The core idea is gritty and edgy, and even though there's some examples before Madoka, a mahou shoujo genre, which focuses more on a grittier and darker plot compared to a more traditional mahou shoujo genre like Precure. Like for example, before Madoka, there's Nanoha. Nanoha is actually has relatively quite dark story for its genre. I mean the first and second season, at least the third season it became a more shonen story. But my point is, Madoka is for modern anime, at least in the last decade, Madoka can be said the one that popularizes this genre. But in my personal opinion, since Madoka, there's really not that many. There's many anime that attempted to be this kind of moe girl edgy despair anime, but most of them kind of sucks to me. I think most of them fails to reenact the same feeling as of Madoka. But Yuki Yuna, on the other hand, I think pull this off nicely. I think Yuki Yuna is one of the best anime recently to pull this deconstruction aspect of this traditional mahou shoujo genre, this whole girl despair anime. And I really like it because there's many elements of the anime that succeeded compared to all these other despair anime. So Yuki Yuna is few years ago. I don't really remember when was it, but uh, the recent series Washio Sumi is actually the prequel to Yuki Yuna. One of the main character in Washio Sumi became one of the core character in Yuki Yuna later on. One problem is, I mean like, first it's a prequel, so people who have watched Yuki Yuna will have known what will already know what will happen to most of these characters, including me. So that's one problem with prequel. You already know the end. So the important things about prequel is how you present the facts and the story that the viewers have already know. So how did Washio Sumi did? To me, I'm a little roller coaster on this because the episode 1 of Washio Sumi is pretty good. It establishes the basic setting, the characters, and the main plot. It built a good foundation of the basic of the Yuki Yuna universe, the whole Shinju Sama thing, the whole vortex thing, the whole hero system. The characters had a good interaction. The story flow was pretty good, and while I don't think it has anything surprisingly out of ordinary, it doesn't really have anything super special, but it's really solid if when you compare it to Yuki Yuna. But basically, episode one has establishes a pretty solid introduction. But my main problem with Washio Sumi is the second episode. The second episode is basically what's wrong with how most of this pair anime tries to make this dark and gritty story. First, the I mentioned that this Washio Sumi, each episode of this 3 episode is 40 to 50 minutes long, basically 2 episodes worth. The problem with episode 2 of Washio Sumi is that in the first half, it tries too hard. It tries too hard in making establishing this whole happy innocent setting of the three main characters. They all have happy life. They all have best friends. They enjoy their life as a students. They fool around, and then they practice together. It tries. My problem was it tries to do. It tries to shove in the comedy too hard. If you watch it, you can see that there's so many moments of a comedic moment that kinda a little slapsticky. There's too much comedic sound effect. You know, the how should I say comedic sound effect that you usually hear in comedy TV show. Basically, the comedies are a little too. The comedy comes a little too strong for. It has no subtlety. It has no. How should I say this? It's not subtle. It tries to establish itself as like, ha ha ha, this is so funny. But even though most of the viewers would know that something bad will happen, and something did happen in the second half. I think I should have to say this, but spoiler alert. Yeah, but my problem is in the first half of episode 2, the comedy is not natural. At least compared to the comedy and slice of life aspect of the anime is not natural compared to Yuki Yuna or even the first episode. It just tries too hard to make when you establish things to be so happy-go-lucky, and then you will destroy them later in a despair scene. It's so loaded. I don't like it when you purposely make things just so you can tug the supposedly the viewer's heart later. It's very amateur way to. And I didn't get to the good part yet. In the second second half of the anime, it goes way more into trying to manipulate you to be invested in the characters emotionally. One of the character, the brawny one, the one that uses huge sword, basically the tanker. The second half of the show went a step more on loading it with how much you should care for this character. It became so obvious. There's many moments. The anime introduced you to the viewers to this characters family, and then they all have these bonding moments with the family, and and supposedly to make you sadder, this girl has little brothers who really admire her, and then they all went on how her family really likes her. Basically, the whole of episode 2 considering that most viewers would already know what really happened in Washio Sumi and Yukiuna, that it became so loaded with death flag. It's, I mean, I don't really mind death flag, but you have to have some subtlety and finesse in loading your writing with a death flag, with death flags. Uh, Basically, what I'm saying is Washio Sumi did really poor in establishing these death flags. And then at the end of the episode 2, yes, the girl died horribly. Spoiler alert. But yeah, I really don't like episode 2. It became became too similar to other amateur edgy dark gritty anime who became edgy for the sake of being edgy. Without it has no refinement like how Madoka handle despair. I can analyze what I can give I can go into the detail. Okay, can go into more detail on how why and the contributing factors why this episode especially is bad. One of them is that it has 3 characters compared to 5 characters, main characters in Yuki Yuna. And when you have 3 characters, the amount of interaction you have is limited. Because you have 3 person, A react to B and C, B react to A and C react to A and B. There's just by pure permutation, interaction between 3% and 5% is very huge. So in 5 characters, you can develop them better because due to interaction with more characters. However, in Washio Sumi, there's not much moment for that. One thing, because it has 6 episodes worth of airtime, and unlike Yuki Yuna who have 12 episodes. So in the end, what that means that the death of this one of the main characters feels rather cheap. It's so orchestrated. It's so obvious that she will die, and her death is supposed to be a moving moment, supposed to be a sad moment. But it is the scene itself is very sad because the 2 other characters got knocked out and cannot fight anymore, and this the last girl has to sacrifice herself to fight the 2 other big monsters. It was very sad. And then her bleeding body at the end, and then the two characters crying after finding her. That scene alone is pretty sad. But what the whole episode preceding the scene makes me just cannot invest more in that death scene. So I really hated episode 2. I really hated episode 2 to the point that when episode 3 came out, I procrastinated until like few weeks before I actually watch it. However, how the episode 3 goes? Episode 3 is pretty good. I really like it, especially in the first 8 to 10 minutes. The first 8 to 10 minutes really is about the funeral of the dead girl, and then what the story continues on, how and what should the 2 other characters do. It was really good. That the whole 10 minutes has this very silent moment with very minimal background music and sound effect. It has a really good atmosphere, and it has really good atmosphere. And in the end, after that, it ended with the 2 characters crying really hard. And then there's this scene with the girl's little brother, practically crying and blaming God. In this case, Shinju sama, if you watch it. Yeah, but the early part of the episode 3 is really good, and then it goes on. The two characters are developed. They grew up, become a better person, and how they should respect and honor their dead friend. And then until in the middle moment, more a little bit on slice of life, more slice of life st- uh, moments between the two characters, and these moments are pretty. There's some comedy here and there, and this time it's more properly executed than episode 2 because they don't really try too hard on making it funny or making it haha so slapstick. This episode are more they are more reserved in doing the comedy, and it fits well. The characters develop nicely. The they grow up, and then they want to become stronger, and then at the end, as we all know from people who have watched Yuki Onna, uh, both of them use this this power provided to them, and then the main character Washio Sumi loses her memory, and the other girl loses too much of her other sense and her body parts, and then she only appears a little bit in the sequel. Sequel, more. Do we call the sequel? Yeah, kinda. The action scenes in the third episodes are really good. It was the musics are really good. It has this very sense very, how should I say this? It's both very encouraging and very, yeah, you wanna fight, but at the same time has this very sense of dread, this sense of horror, because this is the nature of the Yuki Yuna universe. The enemy will never go away, and then you have to fight them forever. But the girls do not know, and the end ends with the Washio Sumi meets Yuki Yuna, which would be the start of the Yuki Yuna anime. It was really good because I think Washio Sumi as a character is really good, and her characters in the Yuki Yuna counterpart. It's nice to know the story, the proper story of her past, because in the Yuki Yuna anime, we know most of the story, but we don't really know the details. But so it's really nice. In overall, Washio Sumi is a pretty nice anime. If you ignore most of the episode 2, I have to state it again and again that I really hated episode 2. So I think that's it. Uh, the conclusion is, should I conclude? The conclusion is Washio Sumi is pretty good, and bar episode 2, I think it makes me want to watch Yuki Yuna again. Okay.